to maybe talk about learns of those 5 years with Volt in terms of hypergrowth, maybe from a people point of view, organization point of view, team point of view, what are kind of your main learns that you now take with for your next big thing?
Yeah, it's a tough one.
Would you do it again like you did it with Volt?
Welcome back to In Check with Fintech. Today we have the absolute pleasure to be joined by Jordan Lawrence, CEO and co-founder of Damisa, an innovative orchestration network that's transforming how assets and data move across borders with a special focus on emerging markets. Jordan brings over 2 decades of experience as a seasoned entrepreneur, having built and scaled businesses across marketing, sales, e-commerce, and payments. He's also an active angel investor backing startups in fintech, AI and data, marketing tools, and fraud prevention. Beyond business, Jordan is deeply passionate about sustainability and environmental impact, a thread that runs through much of his work. Enjoy listening.
Probably fun to start with a little trip down memory lane. Obviously, we know each other for a long time.
How long is it now? It's a very long time.
2013 or so.
No,
almost 12 years now.
Yeah. It's a long time.
It's a long time, exactly. Yeah. Do you remember kind of our first encounter, what your first impression was of me when we first met?
Yeah, I do. I think, you were introduced by a family friend, right? Martijn?
Yeah, correct, yeah.
And you came to the office. I think we were in this tiny office on the Broek in Amsterdam.
Yes, for sure, yeah.
And you just left university, looking for a job.
Yeah, correct, yeah.
Yeah, and I remember thinking, okay, this guy is a student. I don't know how long he's going to be around, but let's give it a go. I remember thinking, like, yeah, this is obviously your first job. I had no expectations of certainly of where you are now. But whether you'd be around in a few years or anything. But I think we did really well back in the day. You very quickly rolled your sleeves up and got stuck in. And, we were listening to podcasts even back then.
Yeah.
And we were trying to learn
recruitment
everything.
trainer, Scott Love. Yeah.
Scott Love, yeah. We also had an award from one top sales guy, Brian Tracy.
Brian Tracy, of course, yeah.
So we were learning all the time, working ridiculously hard. And so I think very quickly... it was great, right?
But really into building mode, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I remember you had all these spreadsheets in the beginning, which no one else had. You were like mapping call times and like trying to work out ratios before even ratios was a thing. It was good.
It was good. Yeah. I remember our first encounter on the phone, actually, when I got indeed introduced, and it was just having a quick intro call. I was so nervous speaking to you for the first time. I remember that, and coming into the office and. Yeah, just being, I think, super opportunistic. I remember he was this cool guy. I was like, yeah, I would like to work with this guy for sure. Yeah, I'll give it a go. If he says recruitment is the next big thing, then yeah, okay, I'll follow him. And I followed you for, when did you go into Volt? Back in 2021, 22?
So yeah, 2019, we were building it, right? But still I was doing a lot with PCN. And I think that's when we said, right, your time to jump into the CEO role. And I'll become more of a chairman situation.
Yeah.
To buy some time for Volt. Yeah.
Exactly.
2019. Yeah.
Yeah. So about 6, 7 years. Yeah. What are your fondest memories of that time? With that we were together, PCN?
This was, I mean, honestly, I told you many times, but I do miss recruitment. I think the world knows that. I love the industry. I love the transactional nature of the business, and obviously helping people out. How many people have we helped into roles where they're now in amazing jobs, right?
Exactly,
and also companies that are have done really, really well because of the placements we've made. A lot. So there's a lot of memories, a lot of great memories. I think it's a tough one, but for me, I don't know if you remember, but we used to run these company. Obviously, you still do now, but we used to run the company trips. Like if we did hit certain numbers and hit certain targets, and the first one I think we went on was to Croatia.
Yeah, I remember that, yeah.
We went to Hvar. It was amazing. We went down to, we got on a boat, a ferry. One of my good friends was there.
Yeah.
Who's got a bar and a ski resort. And we were, it was completely random. This was an amazing trip for me. And I think it was just like the two of us, maybe 3 people.
No, just 2 of us was that one. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
This was a good one. And then also the Cape Town trips, right? This were ridiculously good. Yeah.
They were lovely. Yeah.
Yeah,
for me as well. I think those incentives and just the lunch clubs as well. I remember these warm Friday afternoons on your boat. We're going to a lunch club, having a lunch club, day drinking, and then coming back and just no care in the world.
Yeah.
Just an amazing time.
Seems like times were a lot easier back then, right?
It does seem so, yeah.
Kids have something to do with it. But,
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, how times have changed, yeah.
Yeah.
Because you came to the Netherlands for love, right? You started back in the UK. So I think you left home when you were 16, started a kite and surf school. Is that right?
That's right. Yeah, I had some surf shops in the UK, a lake. I actually opened, I think, the first kite school on the south coast for kite surfing in Poole Harbour, and now, of course, it's a very big sport. So yeah, that was good. Windsurfing school, we did kite surfing, everything, and that was obviously my background. I was teaching that for many years.
How long did you do that for?
A solid decade teaching water sports, right? Yeah. I was coaching national teams and designing kiteboards and all sorts. Yeah, before I got into that.
And that was kind of your first entrepreneurial experience.
Yeah, so I think that's also what kind of helps. I mean, if anybody's into these water sports, especially things like windsurfing and surfing, which takes so long to get any good at, right? And it's pure resilience, right? You're out there fighting. Sometimes you're out for hours. You don't even catch a wave. Windsurfing is the same. It's ridiculously hard to learn. And I think that, when I had my kite surfing schools, there was no weekends off. There was no bank holidays off because that's when people want to go do the sport. So it was 7 days a week. It was 15 hours a day. People would be going down the pub and I'd be washing out wetsuits from the school of the day, right? Hanging them up for the next day to dry. And standing, I remember teaching kite surfing in the snow once in March in the UK to a couple of Scottish ladies who did not really care about the cold, of course, because they were from Scotland. And I was in this very thick wetsuit standing again in Poole Harbour teaching kite surfing. And I thought, okay, this is crazy. And so, of course, then when I came to Amsterdam after I sold the shops, I was sitting in an office, in a suit, in a warm office with the weekend coming up. And I was like, wow, this is how the other half live. I couldn't believe it. So I think, the resilience of the water sports in general, and then teaching and, working really hard for very little, helped the work ethic, I think, that's been going on.
But why from going into being an entrepreneur to being a employee of Huxley at the time, going into recruitment? Why did you take that leap?
Yeah, so at the time, I think, I just needed money, right? So I'd sold the shops. I'd moved to Amsterdam for my girlfriend at the time. So I wasn't really working for a while. I was just snowboarding around, traveling a lot.
Nice.
And then I came back and she said, if you want to be with me, then you should settle down, get a job. And I thought, okay, if I need to get a job, but earn some money. And I saw an advert online, for recruitment. Applied to it. It was a very difficult company to get into. I think I had 5 or 6 interviews. Obviously, I've got no education at all. I've been teaching water sports my whole life. Yeah. So they were like, well, what the hell's going on here? But I did have a very unique network in e-commerce because I started the online surf shops really early, sort of 2001, 2002. Mm-hmm. And so had this bizarre network of payment people back then as well. I started to grow the payments practice of Huxley. And then, of course, after a year and a half, decided to go down to do my own thing.
Yeah, that's how Payments and Cars Network came around. That's it. Right? Yeah. The username PCN. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I think even back in the beginning, when you first started, it was called Future in Finance, right?
Yeah, well, I think the group. Yeah, we had the brand Future in Finance, we had Future in IT, and Payments and Cars Network.
Yeah.
And what I remember was at the time, I think you did kind of half Payments and Cars Network, half Future in Finance. You did a bit of both.
Yeah.
And then when I came in, you said, okay, let's fully focus on Payments and Cars Network. And that's
I think we saw like this because this was very early, and I think we saw, of course, Adyen was growing really fast in Amsterdam. Yeah. I had a house across a road from their first office, so I could see them, new employees on the desk every 5 minutes. And I thought, okay. And then WorldPay moved there, and you saw, a lot of payment companies and fintechs growing. I think that was it, right? We thought, okay, let's just go full tilt into fintech.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, fintech didn't exist, I think, back then. It was purely payments. Like, it was really online payment companies, POS companies, a lot of these ideal processors. I remember it was much of a different landscape. But even then, I think we were talking, there's too many players. There'd definitely be consolidation and everything. Yeah. And now, I think that's still kind of the narrative today.
Yeah. I mean, that's exactly this. I think the consolidation is highly overdue, to be honest.
Sure. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But I think it's happening. And I remember we moved into the old PayLogic offices.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Yeah.
On the Keizersgracht. Yeah, true. Yeah.
So, the payments thing was in Amsterdam a great deal, right? And then everyone started expanding into the US. So we got into the US, Atlanta.
Yeah.
Great. Singapore, very difficult market. But yeah, I think it was yeah, really good times growing the PCN with you.
I feel that always definitely in the years that you were at the helm, it was a very entrepreneurial company. Was that kind of something that you tried to instill, or was that on purpose, or was it just because that was your kind of DNA? That's just the way the company run.
I think I think in recruitment, obviously you're trying to always hedge against market crashes, let's say in certain economies, right?
Yeah.
So I think the thinking of why we expanded so fast into different markets all around the world was because, if Europe took a bit of a slump, the US would sort of keep us going. And if the US took a slump, then we got Europe and APAC and all the rest of it, right? So that was the thinking. Obviously now we know that it's such a global market. You don't have to have offices all over the world. I think US is obviously very different to Europe, which is different to UK, different to APAC. But if you want to run a recruitment company across Europe, you can very well do it out of Amsterdam. So I think
True.
Back then I thought, we need to be in Germany, we need to be in France. But actually, I don't think that's the reality anymore.
No, definitely now everything's online and obviously very global. So yeah. Interesting. What were kind of the main learns you took away from the time PCN to Voort back in 2019 and growing that? Or kind of main learns you remember from taking away from growing PCN for so many years?
I just think the work ethic in recruitment is just insane. There's a lot of people are working very, very hard for their placements, for their fees. A lot of no's, a lot of rejection. It's sales at the end of the day, but probably the most purest kind of sales. You're selling people. It's not a product. They change every 2 minutes. They change their mind all the time. It's not a product. So it's very hard sales, and you got to be very resilient. A lot of no's come your way. And so I thought, if you take this same mentality into a fintech company, I don't think you can go far wrong, right? And that was, I think, the biggest realization when I used to walk into companies that were very successful. Of course, I'm not going to name them. And it would be a lunch break, and everybody's on Facebook, and I'd be like, okay, this is not the same. Obviously, a different world. Deals take a lot longer, and all the rest of it. So I get it. It's less intensive. But I thought, let's take the same mentality into a fintech. And I think that worked out really well.
I think we spoke about that as well with some of our recruitment friends, right? Went into payments and then were super successful because indeed they took that work ethic into payments. And I remember them also coming back with stories where it's like, so quiet. It's totally different from what I'm used to in recruitment. So yeah, it is a different vibe and game maybe in that end.
Or them being told to stop working so hard. I recall a couple of stories.
Way. Yeah, all right, okay.
And of course, Daphne went out. We went from recruitment. My wife went out of recruitment, where she was very, very good and very successful, into PayU. Just heard some of the stories as well, and she took that same work ethic there, and I think did really well.
I always remember from PCN, like I said, that kind of entrepreneurial mindset, which is still something I'm trying to instill today. I think you gave a lot of freedom and trust as well into me trying out new things, and that has definitely given me a lot of experience and baggage, I think, for hopefully now kind of my next 10 years. Then you went to Voort, 2019, you started building that. How did that come about? Why did you decide, okay, recruitment, I've done that. It's on now to bigger things. Let's go actually full tilt or double down into kind of fintech, open banking. Do you remember how that came about?
Yeah, I mean, you know me, right? We've known each other a long time now. I don't sit still very often. And so I think how that came around was I was always trying like new different companies. We had things like Zource and stuff, right?
Oh yeah, I remember that.
We're doing all sorts of different things. And then the idea would always have some kind of fintech company. But of course, we didn't want to go into competition with our clients, right? This would be suicide. So the regulation change, PSD2 came around. Tom reached out, Tom Greenwood. Tom, very successful guy in the FX business, not necessarily in direct payments. So I guess his network was not as large as ours. So he reached out and said, look, I got this idea around a payment business around PSD2 for account-to-account payments. I'm coming to Amsterdam, let's have lunch. So I had lunch with him. It sounded like a great idea. And I thought the timing's great. There's no competition to our existing clients at PCN. So this is the time to do it, right? And then bizarrely, I was sat with Tom in the digital source meeting room.
Oh, yeah.
And then we said, okay, we need a tech guy who can be joined as a tech person, CTO effectively. And at the same time, I was Skyping with Stefan Voort, who said, I'm up for the challenge. So luckily he came aboard, and now he's a CEO doing a great job.
Exactly. Yeah. I remember indeed Tom coming in and you having that idea, and it was one of the many ideas that came across the table. But this one really, I would say you probably put a lot of time into effort in all of them. But I think, like any entrepreneur, you make several bets, and one of them will hopefully work out. Well, Voort has certainly worked out. So, is that how you saw it as well? Did you just keep trying? Like, was there ever hesitation in you for doing certain ideas? Like, I remember the Zoor, she had this gaming payments company.
Payment, yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
There's versions of that around now as well. Actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
all right. Okay.
Yeah, that was cool.
Was there ever hesitation to those things, or have you always been kind of very open minded, like just give it a try, have nothing to lose?
I think I read some books on this, right? Scaling fast, failing early. There's a classic. There's many books. The Lean Startup is one of the classic ones, which basically says try as much of things as you possibly can, but make sure you move on to the ones that are working as quick as possible as well. That summarizes the book. And I think that was it. So the payment was kind of super slow. Was going to take a lot of effort in the build and partnerships and all the rest of it for very little money. Tom also from the FX background, which I consider quite similar to recruitment in terms of a work ethic. It's a cutthroat industry.
Oh yeah.
Everyone's working around the clock really hard. So, there is a guy who's rolls his sleeves up and doesn't stop either, right? So I thought it was a good combination.
Yeah.
And I thought he's got the same idea. Like we take this business and we apply the same 15-hour days we've been doing for years. And so I thought it was a great one to bet on.
Did you understand at the time much about payments and open banking, or was it something you picked up on really quickly? Because for me, recruitment and open banking payments, the tech side of it, which you seem to understand really well, are two totally different things.
Yeah, but it's a quite simple form of payments, right? Because it's account to account, and of course in the Netherlands we've had Ideal for so long, and it's basically the same thing all over the world, no? But yeah, of course, it was a big learning and very fast learning for me, especially on the tech side. But I think we've got a PCN. We've always had this very unique situation where we can see how everybody's making money. What are the business cases? What are the use cases? What are the business models of all these companies? So you can quite easily see how to fit something else into that ecosystem. I think that was really, really useful, right? So learning was one thing, like how can you learn account-to-account payments? But then the next thing was how does it fit into the wider market? And I think we did think that open banking would happen a lot faster than it has. But slowly but surely, maybe we're a couple of years behind. But you see, even this year, right? Regulations have passed where banks all across Europe have to accept instant payments now, and that's being rolled out in 2025. So it's happening. The rise of open banking.
True, yeah. But yeah, I do think that also from what I remember at the time, PCN, you're so good at understanding business models really, really fast and really well. You came back oftentimes from meetings like, they're doing this, it's amazing, fantastic. And half of the time, I probably understood 25% of it. So I think there's also probably your kind of kudos to you for having that understanding, probably indeed because you started so early on with indeed that surf school and understanding different business models. 2019 you started, now it's 2024, it's now 300 people, Voort?
I think Voort is probably around 250, 300 people, something like this, yeah.
That is massive growth, right? Over 5 years.
Yeah.
That's hypergrowth, basically. It's clearly been through scale-up phases as well. I think it's now going into quieter waters, maybe, with regards to growth, right? Or is there big growth plans?
I think everybody is, right? I think in terms of growth, Voort is no different. There's lots of AI tools around now, so you don't need as many developers as you used to need. SDRs, a lot of it can be done with AI. So I think everybody's scaling back and realizing you can do a lot more with a lot less people.
Yeah.
And I think Voort is no different. So yeah, I think the growth in terms of how many employees it has will slow down.
Yeah.
But I think if you speak to Stefan and Tom, Tom's moved on to other things. But if you speak to Stefan, I think he will say the same, that revenues will go up, headcount will go down.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's the plan. You need profitable growth.
Yeah.
To maybe talk about learns of those 5 years with Voort. When you started, do you remember main challenges with the three of you?
Yeah, I think educating the market, right? Wow, this was enormous. So open banking was, when we first started, was nothing. Did it work? It kind of worked in some markets, didn't work in other markets. There was some massive oversights from the regulators in terms of guaranteeing payments, which wasn't there. So in Europe, it was kind of broken for a long time. So then you had to educate the market of like, oh, don't worry about it. It's coming. You need it. Everyone wants it. So then it was just drawing on global experiences of things like Ideal, things like, obviously Pix in Brazil, when that came along and everybody started using it, it was an easier sell. But it was the challenge was making sure that everyone realized it's coming, they needed it, and the behaviors will change. That was a big challenge, yeah.
And what about investment? Was that difficult as well? Because you had to educate the market, like were investors, angels, VCs understanding open banking, or was it there also a lot of educating and convincing them to invest in this?
Money 2020 USA is the world's biggest, most influential gathering of the global money ecosystem, including banks, payments, tech, startups, retail, fintech, financial services, policy, and much more. This is where you'll find new connections, business-critical insights from inspirational speakers, innovation, and partnerships you need to ensure your business succeeds for whatever comes next in money. Don't get left behind. Join now and use code TPC250 to save an extra $250 off your pass.
I think some of the venture capital companies got it and some didn't, right? And some very successful VCs made wild bets on the wrong ones, right? Mm-hmm. So I think nobody knew what was going on at the time. And I think, I've invested in quite a few companies. I'm no professional investor, let's say, but for me, I always back the team, right? And I think the Fuel, who came in right at the beginning, Fuel Ventures, fantastic outfit led by Mark Pearson. He obviously believed in us, believed in the team, and kind of beyond that, I don't think, I think he just knew we would get there.
Yeah.
So yeah, obviously the raise in the beginning was challenging, but I think we found the right partners for all the rounds, A and B as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And in terms of kind of throughout those 5 years, what were kind of your main learns over those in terms of hypergrowth, maybe from a people point of view, organization point of view, team point of view, or kind of your main learns you now take with for your next big thing?
Yeah, it's a tough one.
Would you do it again like you did it with Voort? And if not, what would you do different? Maybe that's a better question.
Yeah, no, I think there's a lot of things I would definitely do the same.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of things I would definitely do very different.
Yeah.
I think, everybody says it, but very few people do it because you got all this founders mode stuff going on now, right? Where people, founders try to micromanage everything. But, same as a PCN, I really believe in hiring people. Again, it's been said 1,000 times, but I don't think many people actually do it when it comes to it. But hiring people that are better than you at the job that you've hired them for and let them get on with the job, right? Mm-hmm. If you have a head of marketing in the beginning, I don't want to know about the marketing, right? I want the marketing person to come to me and say, this is what's happening. And I go, great.
Yeah.
Let's everybody do their job, If I'm the CEO, I'm out, I'm making sure everybody's happy. I'm raising the money. If there's a CTO, they're developing the whole back end. They're looking after, if there's a CPO on the product side, they're building the product. And we all come together and say, this is what's happening. And we go, great. Rather than someone trying to jump over everyone and make sure there's micromanagement going on, which I don't think works, to be honest, a lot.
No. Have you seen that in Voort then, that micromanagement? Is that what you're saying?
Not especially at Voort. No. But I think a lot of companies do that. And from certainly what I've seen working with many companies at PCN, you see that a lot. And a lot of these companies fail because of the micromanagement. So it was always something I was pushing at Voort so we don't become that kind of business, right? I think that's one of my biggest learns from PCN that I took into Voort, that we hire great people, let them do their job, and go from there. And specifically the learns from Voort, I think the things we would definitely do again is the hypergrowth, right? It was, get as many countries as possible, expand as fast as you can via partnerships or, move hell and high water, just get it done. This was really inspiring at Voort. Everyone is an amazing team and everyone rolled their sleeves up and did a great job.
That's also why I think it will be successful, because of the team that is still there.
The team that's still there now is world class. And I think even more people, top talent attracts top talent, as we know. And I think, we'll see that even more people join because of that team.
What about your role in it? I mean, you've always been quite hands-on, right? In all your, see it as kind of 3 main ventures, your surf school, PCN, and then Voort. I mean, done the opening of the Australian market yourself, went there for 2 months. So you're really in the weeds. Would you do that now again with your next venture to that extent, or would you do it differently?
Yeah, I think when it comes to new countries, it's always good if one of the founders, let's say, opens it up.
Mm-hmm.
So with Australia, I was there for, I think, best part of 3 months in the end. I met like 300 people, right, face to face. It was wild. It was nonstop. I think I was home for dinner twice, right, much to my wife's dismay, but nonetheless, got the job done. And that was, I think that was the way to do it. You just get in there, you make a couple of events, you meet people, you show that you're, if you're going into a new market, going into a new country, you need to show that you're there and you mean business.
Yeah.
Rather than sending in someone who, can be amazing at their job, but it doesn't show that actually, especially to startup. In a corporate, it doesn't matter, right? You send in the head of growth, great. But if it's a startup and you show you want to show you mean business, I think one of the founders has to go.
Just opens up many more doors.
Yep. So I definitely do it again.
Yeah. Interesting.
I must say also, like at PCN, we placed several people in Australia over the years, right? So
yeah,
I already had a network down there, which was awesome. So when it came to creating events and stuff like that, it was a good network was already going on.
Could you piggyback a lot on your network that you build at PCN for Voort as well?
For sure. I think a lot of the initial hiring, certainly a lot of the board, Stefan.
Yeah.
True. Yeah, I think so obviously a lot of customers as well. I think being 10 years in fintech before starting a fintech was extremely useful, right? And also, like I said before, in terms of paying it forward, we've placed people in jobs that are now in serious positions in the fintech space, and I think there's a certain level of gratitude there as well. So it's much easier to phone them up and say, "Hey, how's it going in that job?" Let's work together on Voort or whatever, right?
Funny how your network has always followed you, right? From indeed your surf school, starting e-commerce businesses, getting in touch with payment people, then going to Huxley, then PCN, Voort. There's always been some kind of payments flavor to it, by the sounds of it.
Sounds like right, yeah.
Exactly.
I think you're right. It's been a while now. So a solid. I've been working since I was 15, so it's a long time.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Do you think that's your unique? If you had to choose your unique ability, would you say that is it? Kind of your building networks, social.
That's one thing, but I think if I say what's the superpower, I think it's like connecting the dots, right? So is there something? So it's like where there's future trends of markets. I think we saw that in recruitment as well. We were really early with PCN, but we knew the fintech space was going to grow. Open banking, super early, before it was even a thing.
Yeah.
We saw it was going to grow. So I think one thing is seeing where the markets are going, right? Especially if you have an overview of the business models that are in the industry you're trying to be into, and then connecting the dots. So that's why the recruitment thing came so naturally. I think you've got the same thing. You see what's happening in a business, you know a person, you think actually they're going to fit really well in there, and you kind of join the dots like that, right? I think that's where I come in.
True. Yeah. I definitely remember that as well from our PCN time, that you were so good at speculative sending someone in and immediately, just basically being 100% fit, whereas others might not have seen it. Like it wasn't an obvious fit that company could fit with that person, but because you understood the people so well. Like I remember this company in Munich, Onpex,
the online payment exchange. Christoph.
Exactly.
Twitch, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. There as well, you came back, you're super enthusiastic, and I think you placed a pretty big top dog in there because indeed you connected the dots. So I can definitely see that.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. And I think if you're going to be in recruitment or any role which involves business development, you have to have a kind of intellectual curiosity as well, right?
Yeah,
I think that's. Sure. I always said, I don't remember. I think I've said it 1,000 times to you as well. But if I was recruiting in an industry I had no interest in, I would be useless.
Yeah.
Right? I've got a genuine curiosity in payments. I want to know how the company's making money. I want to know the kind of culture in there. And then you remember it a lot more, right? So then when someone does come along who fits there, you think, oh, I think I've seen something for you.
Yeah, for sure.
Because you're genuinely interested, right?
Exactly, yeah. Is that where you see your next thing now, to maybe come on to that? Will you stay in fintech? Is that where you're looking to stay in?
Yeah, so look, the idea was when I came back from Australia at Voort, I came back, Australia, it was good, set up, booming, another one of Volt's markets, great. My team at the time at Voort were doing a fantastic job in terms of growth around the rest of the world. And I thought, look, what's the value I can add here? Actually, I'm either going to be in here for another 10 years or maybe now is a good time to stop and move on to new things. Also, 2 young kids. I'd spent no time with them since Vault started. Vault started the day my daughter was born, right?
Yeah, crazy.
So, I mean, yeah, I think I took 2 or 3 days parental leave the whole time. So, yeah, my wife was constantly saying, come on, you need to spend some time with the family, which is fair enough. So a lot of factors led to me stepping down. And then, of course, the idea was just to take quite some time off, right? But yeah,
You can't sit still.
I can't sit still.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, yeah, I am about to go away for 6 or 7 weeks, so take a bit of a break. But yeah, already I'm launching a new thing with a couple of other founders who are very well known in the crypto space and travel space. We're launching a stablecoin business, so payments and stables, mainly focused around escrow services, so disrupting the escrow market, where there's enormous property transactions going on. And right now it's all done on the fiat rails. So we'll try and disrupt that in using stablecoins and secure wallets to do escrow services.
It's called, you sent me the presentation, Damisa.
Damisa.
Well, how did that name, where did it come from? Is it
Damisa,
African?
Yeah. So one of our key markets for escrow, and I think, also helping various countries out because they can bypass the existing banking system. Or if they can't get banked, maybe they can use stablecoins, is Africa. And Damisa actually means cheetah, like the big cat, not like the cheetah, cheating at cards or something,
Ah, yeah. Fair,
yeah. So like the cheetah or a big cat, let's say, in a West African dialect. And it's the fastest land animal and will aim to be the fastest payment method using stablecoins.
Why escrow services though? Because I think it's looking at the pitch deck, it talks about international money transfer as well. I think there's probably a business case in that. Is there too many competition already in international money transfer with stablecoins where you focus on escrow, or could it also be 2 different products or services that you offer, which also go well together? Or
I think the thing is we could do let's say remittance, international payments, but I think many people are doing it
on the stablecoin network.
Yeah, a lot of people are doing it on stables. Ripple have been doing it for a long time.
True. Yeah.
Bridge, you're obviously into it. Borderless, there's a lot of companies doing it, and I think so. In terms of my outlook for growth, I'm always thinking like, where can actually you add value and make money, right? If you're looking at international payments, let's say you want to move money from Brazil into Europe. I mean, you can do this for 10 basis points, right? Where's the value? You can't get much cheaper than that. And people are obviously looking to cut costs. So the value then is in the security of the blockchain, which is a fantastic use case, of course. But it will be more expensive than 10 basis points. So then you've got to educate people. It's going to take a long time. You're fighting a fight. So Damisa will very much focus on escrow, which people are paying up to 4 or 5% for. Right, okay. Especially in like untrustworthy corridors, let's say between China and Mexico, someone's shipping a big pallet of goods worth $10 million. The Mexicans aren't going to pay up front. No offense to Mexicans, I love the Mexicans, but they're not going to pay up front the 10 million and hope the goods arrive. And the Chinese seller is not going to hope that the Mexican is going to pay them when the goods arrive, right? So we need an escrow service in between. And yeah, I think there's massive demand for that. I've actually been in Portugal here with one of the largest property developers in the country, and they're about to use Damisa to sell some property. So yeah, it's off to a great start. There's an enormous market for it. And I think the benefit is that, there's so many stable coins being launched every week. You've got PayUSD, you've got USDT, USDC, you've got a lot of them. TRX, you name it, there's more coming out. No one knows what to do with it. No one knows the benefit per stablecoin. No one knows how much yield they can make per stablecoin if money in escrow is sat there for a long time. So we're actually disrupting the whole escrow industry by offering escrow-style wallets, which is a secure wallet, so that the money can come in and out of, but we're issuing yield of the deposits in those wallets. So you can actually start making money from your escrow service, which is amazing.
So again, talking about education of the market, this is definitely where you need to probably educate the market.
Yeah, but we will. And I think if people are into like property, M&A, logistics, and they're using these kind of services anyway, they immediately get it.
Yeah, they do? All right.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's immediate. Yeah. So I think this is going to go really fast. So yeah, Damisa will focus on the stablecoin orchestration into escrow accounts. And yeah.
How are you able to cut the interchange by so much? Or was the interchange? No, the markup, sorry. You said for the property right now, property developers pay about 4 to 5% markup, right? How can you cut that down to 1%?
So obviously, escrow services now, especially when it comes to property, is very manual. right? A lawyer, a notary has to be there. You've got to sign all sorts of documents, right? And a lot of the documents can be, not all of them, but a lot of them can be made into smart contracts.
Yeah.
So when certain boxes are ticked, certain money gets moved around, funds get released. So the manual process is taken out of it. So less people to pay, cut the costs. And notaries and lawyers charge a lot for these escrow accounts.
Of course, yeah.
As well as licensed payment service providers. I mean, escrow.com is a very large one, right? They're doing a huge amount of escrow in the US and charging princely sums for it.
You're cutting out the middlemans in this case.
Yeah,
basically.
middlemen.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, you talk about the team for Voort. That's why you started this. Who was the team you're going to do this with?
So we got, it's myself, a guy called Maximilian Merenbach, who many people would remember from Kraken. He was the global head of payments for Kraken, very early employee there, set up all their compliance and payments ins and outs for the Kraken exchange, which is a very successful exchange. And we've got Panos Dandolas, who is currently the global head of payments for Agoda, which is kind of the booking.com of APAC. And APAC will be one of the markets we focus on as well. And of course, he brings an enormous background in logistics and travel. So there's a big problem in Asia of OTAs buying multiples of flights from the cheap airlines, right?
Mm-hmm.
Having to resell them. A lot of that money goes into acquirer accounts and not making any yield out of it. We can, of course, completely replace that with stable accounts and give them yield back.
Okay, so you just talk about property development, but in the travel industry, it's just a
We've
big
got
use
7
case.
verticals we're going to go after.
7? All right, okay.
Travel's a big one, logistics big one, real estate is another big one.
How did you run into these people? Did you know these for a long time? You had a beer and this idea came up. How does this idea came about?
So Max lived in Amsterdam, right?
Yeah.
I used to talk to Max back in the PCN days, and Panos as well. Panos, I tried to place him at booking.com before he went into Agoda. So I knew him at PCN as well. And we always kept in touch. I've seen Panos at multiple events as well over the years. WorldPay always hosts this Rethink event. I saw him there as well. We caught up. And we've always been like talking about this, escrow style business of how it could be done. And of course, there's no time, right? And running Voort and trying to do there. So then, we spoke up. We had a conversation again. I think about 2 or 3 months ago when I left. He was like, "What are you going to do now?" I said, "Don't know." And he said, "Well, have a think about this idea we've always talked about." And one thing led to another, and here we are. We just closed a pre-seed round.
Exciting, congratulations.
Thanks very much. So $3 million, and we'll start building out.
Because right now, what there is a pitch deck and an idea.
We've got several partners which we pieced together to make all this happen, but we don't have any licenses of our own, nothing. So we're just basically using partners to make these transactions at the moment.
Oh yeah, all right, okay. And then so we're now in January. When we go live is April.
Yeah.
What do you think will happen within those kind of 3 months? In terms of building it out, in terms of using the 3 million, like what will be there in April that is not there at the moment?
So we'll have
Thank you for watching this special episode of In Check with Fintech. We hope you're enjoying this insightful deep dive. The conversation doesn't stop here, though. The full discussion is available exclusively as an audio episode on your favorite podcast streaming platforms. Don't forget to subscribe for more industry insights and be part of the conversation by leaving a comment. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.